Hello, everybody. Just a few words to say, really. Just first of all, it's a real privilege to be here today on what is a historic day, to see the Executive and Assembly operating again. Had a meeting with the Prime Minister, then met with the First Minister and Deputy First Minister, and then the Executive and also the SDLP as the opposition. And really just had three things to say. One, to thank people who made today possible, to congratulate the First Minister, Deputy First Minister, the new Executive on taking up their new roles, and really pledge to do everything that we can do to help this Executive to be successful. A lot of everyday issues that need attention here in Northern Ireland, and I know they're going to work very hard on that. We're keen to get North-South cooperation going again, have a meeting of the NSMC in the next couple of weeks, and focus on some of that practical cooperation that works well for everyone on the island. So very keen to work with the new Executive and looking forward to doing that. Well, look, we had a very good meeting this morning. Spoke to the Prime Minister by phone only a week or so ago, and had a very good meeting today with him and his team. And we're keen to think about the future and work on North-South cooperation, but also East-West cooperation as well, which is very important.
Do you agree with the Prime Minister that now is the time to address both your day-to-day concerns and not the question of our issue?
I think the priority for any new Executive and any government in any country has to be the day-to-day concerns of people. So, as you know, there are very long waiting lists in Northern Ireland. Not a problem unique to Northern Ireland by any means. We have similar problems too, and there's issues around the economy and around public sector pay. And certainly the sense that I got from the First Minister, Deputy First Minister and the Executive is they're very keen to get stuck into their briefs and very keen to work on those day-to-day issues, and we're here to help. Yeah, well, look, I am confident that the institutions will last. When I was first elected to government back in 2011, we had a prolonged period where the Executive and Assembly were operating, the North-South bodies were operating well, and I know that when the Assembly falls, it tends not to be re-established for years. I think we always need to bear that in mind. But I do feel a sense of confidence from the new Executive that this is here to last. Obviously, we're keen to help in any way we can, particularly around North-South issues and East-West issues. In terms of reform, I think that should wait a bit. You know, it's important that we allow the parties to do their work, to get to know their briefs, their ministries, to work together. And reforms have been made before. It can be done, but I think a period of bedding down and focusing on the day-to-day issues really should come first. Yes, we are. The Shared Island Fund is there, and we would intend to make further allocations from that over the course of this year, but also very keen to coordinate that with Secretary of State and also with the Executive now that's up and running. Sorry? Wasn't not in my meeting, not in my meeting with the Prime Minister, but the Deputy First Minister raised it. Yes. Sorry, say again? I think that's not for today.
The Prime Minister today has said this is not about constitutional change, but despite what he says, hasn't the focus shifted to a border poll because of Brexit and the fallout of it for the island of Ireland, and might that referendum come within the decade?
I think today really is about marking the fact that the Good Friday Agreement, which we voted for in big numbers, north and south, is now functioning again. The Assembly is operating, the Executive and hopefully the North-South bodies and Ministerial Council soon. So I think today really should be about that rather than constitutional questions. Oh, look, I had a very good welcome, a very good meeting with the Prime Minister, and then a very warm welcome from the First Minister, Deputy First Minister and the Executive. And there's a long-standing tradition since the Good Friday Agreement was signed that the Taoiseach would attend events like this. Well, tá dóchasach agus tá alán ás arm gohfuil an tunnel agus an Executive ag obair arís agus tá méid tanú obair leis an céad ára nua agus an las céad ára nua freisin.
Politics changed the think tank for which Rishi Sunak worked, which is very influential in both the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. Today issued a devastating report endorsed by a former Labour Defence Secretary, a former Conservative Defence Secretary, a former Secretary General of NATO, accusing Ireland of persistent security freeloading, saying that Britain should reclaim strategic interests in Northern Ireland. And I just wonder what you thought about that.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to read it. I will, but I have read the summary, and I don't agree with it, as you won't be surprised to hear. And as a country and as a government, we take security and defence very seriously. We're dramatically scaling up our defence budget in the Republic of Ireland, and also we're getting more involved in international security. We've always been actively involved in the UN, but we are founder members of PESCO, which is the Common European Security and Defence Policy. We're part of that. We're also updating our relationship with NATO through the Partnership for Peace. So we take security matters very seriously.
Taoiseach, this has all been made possible today by the deal negotiated with the government. You've already said that you have some problems with that deal. Spell them out first. What's uncomfortable for you in this document?
Well, look, I've some reservations about what's in the command paper, and particularly some of the more negative language around the all-island economy. I see the future of the economy here as being very bright, and I think Northern Ireland has an opportunity to leverage its access to the EU single market, being within the UK internal market as well, and also building up the North-South economy. So I don't think it's a choice. I think Northern Ireland has a great opportunity now to benefit from trade and economic growth and investment coming from all parts of the world, and keen to work with the new ministers on that. But for me, crucially, nothing in what's been negotiated breaks any red lines. I remember when Brexit happened, we set out a number of objectives. One was to make sure there's no hard border between North and South. The other was to make sure that the Republic of Ireland's position in the European single market wasn't undermined in any way. And the third was to make sure that the Good Friday Agreement institutions would function. And all of those things are the case today, and that makes it a very positive day in my view. Well, look, first of all, this isn't about us. This is about Northern Ireland. It's about the major political parties here coming together, forming an executive, working together on the day-to-day issues that people across the province are concerned about. So it isn't really about me or the Prime Minister. It's about power sharing here in Northern Ireland, which is so important. So I think the focus should be on them rather than on us, quite frankly. Yeah, but not for today.
Taoiseach Amanda Ferguson from Reuters. I just have some questions for you, if you don't mind. Is the Irish government considering setting up further north-south bodies to counterbalance what the UK government has agreed with the DUP? And also, whenever you were talking about reform, you said wait a bit. Can you give a realistic timescale of when the UK government and the Irish government may meet with the parties to discuss reform of the Stormont institutions? Do you expect it to happen in the next month, this quarter, at some point this year?
Well, we don't have any plans to set up any new North-South bodies. They're in the agreement, in the Good Friday Agreement. The important thing is that we make sure that they function well, and they do function well, but they've been absent ministerial guidance and ministerial decisions now for far too long. So it's going to be one step at a time. I think it's really important that we should have a North-South Ministerial Council meeting in the next couple of weeks. That will be hosted here in Northern Ireland, and that the North-South sectoral meetings start happening as well. So that's where ministers here in Stormont meet with their counterparts from the Republic. So I think we just try and get things moving.
And on the reform side of things?
Again, I don't really think today is the day for that. These are things that governments can talk about, and of course the parties need to talk about as well. But really, I think the focus for now, and certainly for the next few months, is on getting the executive up and running, bedding in, ministers getting busy in their departments, having the North-South Ministerial Council work again, and then also the British-Irish Council, because the East-West aspect of this is important too.
The legacy legislation that you're taking the UK government to court over come up in your conversations with the Prime Minister?
Not today.
Given your stance and your comments at the start of this whole process as Brexit began, what will you now do to reassure unionists that you are taking on their view?
I do my best to reach out to all communities here in Northern Ireland, and will continue to do so. And I think the main thing that I'd like to do now that the Executive and Assembly are operating again is just to get down to some of that practical cooperation. I've seen unionist ministers achieve a lot when it comes to things like healthcare, for example. The fact that we have cardiac care in Altnagelvin for people in Donegal, the fact that children who need heart surgery can get it in Dublin. It was unionist ministers that helped to make that happen. So I'd like to see us concentrate on practical cooperation over the next couple of months.
What is the update on the Irish government's legal action against British government under the disputed Legacy Act? And secondly, what's your government's approach to the overwhelming inquiry?
On the first matter, that there's no update, and legal processes can take some time, as you know. In relation to OMA, we're very keen to participate and assist in the UK inquiry, and we're willing to do that in any way possible. It was a terrible atrocity, an awful crime. Important that we get to all the facts. We owe that to the survivors and the victims, and we're happy to cooperate and be part of that inquiry. And we're willing to pass any legislation that's necessary to do that. It's an issue of difference. There's no denying that. I think the UK government understands our position. We understand their position. But it shouldn't prevent us from working on other areas, and we will do that. We have a very close economic relationship with Great Britain for obvious reasons, our nearest and one of our biggest markets. And we also need to cooperate more, particularly in areas around security and areas around migration, for example, given that we have a common travel area. So, I think we'll focus on the things that we can work on, and from time to time there will be things that we disagree on. But the fact that we have the Windsor framework in place, that trading relationships around Brexit are settled, and the fact that we have the institutions here up and running again really is a big positive, I think, for UK-Irish relations. Yeah, look, we spoke on the phone for about 20 minutes. It was mostly about Northern Ireland, also touched on other issues like Ukraine, for example, and it was the run-up to the EU meeting where we agreed the funding for Ukraine, for example. So the only issue on which there was disagreement or any difficulty was on the issue of legacy. Probably took up less than a quarter of that phone call, but it was an issue that I raised, and I thought it was important that we should discuss it. But it is very clearly a point of significant difference between the two governments, but that doesn't mean that we can't work together on so many other things that are very important too.
Okay, thank you very much, Roman.
Thank you.
You're waiting till I finish? Thanks, Tracy. Quieten these visitors all down. It's good. We've had a good day today. It's great to see the Taoiseach here and the Prime Minister here. After what has been an historic weekend, we've seen monumental change in this place. We have the first ever Nationalist First Minister and the first ever Nationalist Leader of the Opposition here in Matthew O'Toole. We're very excited to be part of the official opposition, to begin to hold what is now a new government to account. We've obviously been very frustrated over the last 2 years, as the public have been, that we haven't been able to deal with the crises in our public services. But now we hope to support the new government in seeking more funds from the British government. But of course we will also seek this new executive to have a plan for what they will do with that. We want to see a costed plan, a timeline plan for actually delivering on the change we need to see in our health service, in our education system and in our economy. But it's been important today that we got the opportunity again to speak to the Prime Minister, to lay out what we thought was a mistake actually in this process. We totally reject the British Government's command paper, which has moved the centre of gravity of this process towards the one government, one party approach. It has moved away from the principle of inclusiveness in that approach, and it has moved the British Government away from the position of rigorous impartiality, which I think is a mistake, and we made it very clear to him that he needs to move back to much more cooperative working with the Irish Government, and we'd like to see that in symbolism but also in practice, because we won't stand for the dilution of the North-South element of the Good Friday Agreement, and I think the Taoiseach agrees with that position.
You say that you're all about now holding people to account. How embarrassing is it that the first person you had to hold to account was one of your own MLAs, Justin McNulty?
Well, look, that's all part of politics. It's internal disciplinary procedures have to be gone through. Look, I expect 100% from all my MLAs, so I won't accept 50% from one of them. But we're very clear. The door's open for Justin to come back in if he wants. We've made a very generous offer to him, but that's on him, and we're ready and willing to listen.
Paul, what about the fact that we haven't had any public joint display from the UK and Irish governments today? Is that an indication of how sour things have got between the two governments?
Well, look, I actually think that's very unfortunate, and when I spoke to the Prime Minister today, I was very strong in our position that the process that's led us to this point has been wrong. The fact that they've moved away from the jointery with the Irish Government has been a mistake, and I encourage them to do symbolic things like being seen together, but also very practical things in terms of working together. So yes, I do think that was a mistake, and I think it needs to be rectified fairly quickly. Well, look, that's a conversation we have internally, and we'll continue to have that conversation if Justin's up for it. I can't make people do things they don't want to do, but all I can say is this: the SDLP is very clear. Being an MLA in this place, particularly now that the Assembly is back up and running, is a full-time job, and I don't think our constituents would expect anything less. Look, that's a conversation that we are having and we're up for having with Justin. As I've said from the very beginning of this process, the two positions aren't compatible. No, it was important for me to allow the new Leader of the Opposition to have his place. This is a job for the Assembly team. I'm in Westminster. Thankfully, we have been working for quite a while, every single week. But it's important that I think we give the opportunity for Matthew to lead from the front on Saturday. I'm here today meeting with the Prime Minister and Taoiseach. We act as a team. You will see us acting as a responsible opposition in this place, as you've seen in Westminster and you'll see in local councils. Looking forward to the next Westminster election, actually, which will be an opportunity. If people want to complain about how much money this place has, be an opportunity to get rid of this Tory government that we've had for 14 years that have totally damaged public services right across these islands. And there's a very easy way to vote against the Tory government in the next election. Well, I have to say the Irish Government have been very good. I did a lot of work at the beginning of all of this to ensure that we had a shared island unit and a fund was attached to it. work with Micheál Martin on that. That is already spending millions of pounds. I know in my own constituency, recently we were able to get £45 million for the expansion of McGee University. The Irish Government, and I think the Taoiseach has been very clear again today, they want to do more of that. So I think we should bite their hand off, frankly. We did. Legacy is something that we are obviously very concerned about. The Irish Government are taking an interstate case against the British Government on that. We note that the Labour Party have said that they will scrap the legislation that the British Government have brought in. There are a number of court cases now. As far as anybody with any knowledge of this can see, it's a totally illegal piece of legislation. It undermines the opportunity for victims, who they say they want to put at the centre of all of this, to get truth and justice, and nobody should stand for that. This British Government have been gone off-piste on this totally on their own, and I think they'll be pulled back either by the courts or an election. Thanks, guys.
Miriam, I'd just take note from Brian here up in the Great Hall of Stormont, so you should be seeing my